Today we've got a really exciting peace talk. Um, and so we have a special guest who's going to be joining us at the halfway point, 4:30 Eastern Time, which is Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, who is one of the few, if not, I believe, the only Ukrainian members of Congress. And so, who's been on the ground, who's an amazing, amazing person, and we'll have an opportunity to ask her questions about what she's seen on the ground. Let her ask her questions about peace staff. So I'm very excited for that. Um, and we thought we'd use the first half to talk about some of the ongoing proposals, talk about peace style logistics and next steps and all of that jazz. So, Fuego Bisacra, I'll let you take it from here.
Great. Yeah, so on this call, I think it would be good to discuss next steps for funding. I think it would be great if we could do another vote for funding this week, if possible. As you know, we had 7 different proposals within Discord. We ended up picking 3 of them. As far as I understand, the remaining 4 are still valid. In addition, both Anna and Rice Cracker have been able to identify new beneficiaries. So I think we've got a really solid set of opportunities to work with here. So that's one thing I would like to discuss, but I think first I'd like to bring Anna on the stage because I know she has some updates on most recent funding efforts, and here we go. Anna, welcome.
Welcome, Anna.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for
Good,
having
good.
me. Yeah, there's been some nice updates from all 3 volunteer groups that we've supported. And just to remind, like the fundraisers that you chose was one that was a volunteer group working on vacation efforts from Mariupol. Another was Alex, who leaving his tech sales career and is going to help evacuate people from eastern areas of Ukraine, which is now in like a very, very dangerous state that the military has been moved from the Kiev region and central Ukraine towards east. And there's Vlad, who's been doing the evacuation work for years now. He's been participating as volunteer and helping get people out in like 2015, 16, when there's active combat activity in the Donbas region. And so we've supported these 3 volunteer groups, and Alex, he is still currently looking at the car, and he has like contacts in Poland for helping him. One of the challenges that I guess they are dealing with is finding the balance between finding like a minibus that can accommodate more people, but also making sure they're not buying a car that is too old, so then they don't endanger themselves. I think the progress is there. He said that they should have a car by the end of this week. For Vlad, he's already he helped a lot of people in the past week. He went to 4 different like smaller in eastern Ukraine, and he delivered aid to 250 people. I know that he personally helped evacuate 18 people in the past weeks, and then he also helped like coordinate a column of civilian cars, and they worked with like they created an evacuation map, talked to military people, and helped fuel that evacuation car that got people out of areas surrounding Mariupol. And it was an effort that helped 150 people. It within the past week, but within the last 2 weeks. And then just of the more recent ones, he've helped deliver medicines and first aid kits, and also try to connect people with psychological help, humanitarian help, like the people who he already evacuated. And then the volunteer group who's been helping with evacuation from Mariupol, they've already evacuated 40 people. They did not go into the city itself because it's extremely dangerous, and they got the information from other volunteers that it's a no-go. And from what I heard, there was a group of volunteers that did not listen to the same instruction. Like they were there at the same day, and that group of volunteers, everyone lost contact with them. But they were able to evacuate people from around Mariupol. Some civilians like left on foot, and they like crossed the Russian block post and are now just waiting on the outskirts of the city. So they've helped evacuate 40 people. I know that they are now. I don't know if it was yesterday or today. They've just posted that they have 2 other cars that are leaving to a small town near, like a small village near Mariupol, and they're gonna deliver the aid there and also pick up more people. So that's it on the updates, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll just start with, I mean, wow, those are such cool updates. I was, yeah, we picked some really impactful projects. I mean, the number of people that even the small amount of money has helped evacuate is absolutely incredible. So thank you for that update, Anna.
Of course.
Anna, of these 3 projects that we've selected, have you noticed that any, or have they expressed that they are in need of further funding? I know some of them only for 5.
Yeah, so actually they haven't. I've offered, because we also like have our platform, and we've been creating partnerships, and helping volunteer groups. And I've offered, for example, Bratske Serce, like the Mariupol evacuation group, to be added, and they just said that they've got a lot of donations from other people, and and this is really a sign like of an honest volunteer group. They're like, we don't want to gather the money and then just not use them immediately, but the moment we do, like we'll ask you, and like we'll be happy to like be on board on the website. We'll be happy to like reach out for more funding. And then I know for Vlad, I don't know if he's getting any outside donations. I would assume so. He has like a more or less significant Facebook community that supports him. And I also think he's like currently operating on his own. If he starts helping other drivers who are part like of his team with the fuel, for example, then they might need more donations. But for now, there was no like ask or an expressed interest. And with Alex, like he's in the process of purchasing the car, and I think once that is done, and once he joins this larger volunteer group that he plans to be a part of, then we will know more about their needs, and how we can help with their evacuation efforts.
Excellent. Thanks for that update. Was there, can you talk about any of the additional organizations that you've identified?
Yes, I would be more than happy to. So I shared, I think, 2 organizations. One of them, and when I was sharing that for context, there's Chernihiv. Just a few days ago, there's been like alarms all over the country that it's becoming a new Mariupol. It was surrounded by Russia for a very long time. All the entrance in the city were cut off. Some volunteers could sneak in. It was extremely dangerous. If any saw the video that I shared of like and kind of highlighting why the volunteer efforts are so brave and selfless, like the video of volunteers being shot, that was actually on the way to Chernihiv. And so when I what I was thinking of, like, we really should try to support the groups that are evacuating people from that area and delivering aid to the area, either it's regionally or in the city. Right now, what I know though is that Chernihiv has been freed from Russian soldiers. So now, basically, these large organizations that did not have access before to the city can start delivering their aid there. So I think in terms of aid, that need might not be there anymore, but in terms of evacuation, there still might be the need, because there might be like sick people who need to be evacuated. There might be people who just don't have a place to live anymore. I don't know, like, for how long they're gonna deem that area safe, and whether like they will encourage people. I know that in none of the occupied areas, like, the government is encouraging people to come back because it's still extremely dangerous. So I would still kind of like share that evacuation initiative. I think I even shared it as a part of the. If you in they just evacuated incredible amount of money. They're also very transparent about all of their like fuel checks, and they really spend like thousands of dollars because they have very huge convoy of cars moving together and evacuating like tens, hundreds of people. So that's one effort. And then yesterday I got connected with incredible volunteer. I cannot wait for like a report story to come out, because they're now making like a TV coverage that is going to be shared about him in 40 different countries. But he was basically the first person who went into Mariupol. If you followed the story of Mariupol, there was no humanitarian corridors, no ways for anyone to enter, and no one was going into the city. And he was basically the first person who got a minibus from with the help with the funding from his business partners, and he went in and he kind of like explored that it is possible for civilian cars to get into Mariupol. And then since going in, he's been sharing information, organizing convoys to go into the city and evacuate people. He during one of the times that he went into the city, they were shelled, and like the car was damaged. He lost his passport, his like his driver's license and everything. Even without that, he was able to make 3 more trips. But now, like, even Ukrainian soldiers are not letting him in because he doesn't have any documents. And then the situation, as I mentioned, with volunteer buses going into the city, is becoming impossible because Ukrainian government has been using the reportage of this volunteer evacuation and saying, like, look, like, our government is helping evacuate people, and they are sharing all the stories. And that's something that Russian government obviously didn't want to happen, and they didn't want like Ukrainians to share that they're making evacuation possible and they're supporting people from Mariupol. So now they halted like the number of volunteers who can go in. They still allow civilian cars, but anyway, sorry for the long story. He is no longer allowed in the city, but he has this large list of contacts of people who he evacuated. And now there's some of them were able to go abroad, and they're taken care of by like international refugee organizations. But then the people who stayed in Ukraine, a lot of them don't have any support, and there has not been any organized. Like, for example, there's a family and they have a space to be in, like a school gymnasium, like a school gym, and that's not something like a sustainable living for them for a long time. So he's thinking like figuring a way to secure them housing, and thinking of how he can further support them. And that's something that I thought maybe like your community would be interested in contributing to.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, you know, I think, ready and eager to do, or I guess I won't speak on behalf of everybody, but I would think we would be ready to consider the next proposals and fund the next projects. Um, we have more capital coming in. It's not represented on the juice box just yet because they're credit card donations or credit card purchases of tokens that we're going to be funneling in soon. But yeah, and even in the DAO today in the juice box, we have funds that are ready. So we would love to take a look at the next proposal and fund hopefully a few more projects. Fuego, Obisacker, feel free to chime in.
Anna, do you know what would be their ask in terms of funding? I mean, is $5,000 meaningful to them?
So I think
You did
for
mention funding more projects with less money as well.
Yeah, so that was my thought about funding like multiple volunteer groups in Chernihiv. I am now thinking because those groups are like now there's access to larger organizations to deliver the aid, and those groups they're already like volunteer their time. They also don't take any administrative costs or anything, so they are now getting sufficient support. I can try to identify more groups that might need like smaller amount of funding. But I think kind of that rationale of like can we help multiple groups that are doing the work in the occupied areas is no longer there because they are getting supposedly sufficient level of support. We could, I will still propose like two organizations that I think I already shared. The one evacuation, one that's been organizing a lot of aid, and I'm sure like they would benefit from support, but they're not actively seeking it. And then for Mariupol refugee support, I mean, any amount would be meaningful because it would help some people. I don't know how many people it would help. And one of the things with that specific volunteer, he actually didn't want to accept any funding himself. He was like, it's challenging because I don't know like how do we set up the transparency system, and then I don't like being that person who like collects the funds. I just like when the money are sent directly to people, and I really understand his sentiment. And he started even like posting stories of people and individual deposit information. But some just like as a part of conversation, I brought up that there are people that are interested in helping and they want to help through you, and just turning away those funds when you can actually like help people might not be the best strategy, especially now. Hopefully, the media attention will bring more people to his cause.
Okay, great. So Anna, are you willing and able to help us run a proposal?
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to work with Spacecracker or someone just because we have a lot of things going on. I hope Ukraine now. But yeah, absolutely. I would love to share these initiatives and see them getting the help they need.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I saw Rice Cracker just joined in. Rice Cracker,
Yeah,
you ready to rock another one?
absolutely. I like working with that. You've been doing some fantastic work, and I'll work with you to get that proposal out so we can vote as a community.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you both so much. You both have been pulling so much weight in terms of sourcing opportunities for us and documenting our principles and documenting the proposals. And so I know I speak on behalf of everyone we're super grateful for the work you both are doing. Okay, so on to some
Excellent. Makes
go ahead.
sense. I know. I wanted to point out Daniel from IRC wanted to share something.
Oh,
I
great.
think he had an update.
Hey everyone. I just have a couple of updates on the partnerships and NGO partnerships. So we just developed kind of a timeline on when we'd like to be able to bring everyone together at the IRC. So I hope to get a good answer on that within the next week to 2 weeks in terms of our ability as IRC to partner. And then have kind of a plan B in case that doesn't pan out. I also have 2 other partnerships that I've been working on. If you all were here the last time I spoke, I mentioned an organization called Impact Market, and they are basically have what they call a poverty alleviation protocol that works like basically like a universal basic income, where people are basically create a community and are able to donate directly to that community and pass through funding to directly to a community. It works basically they get a weekly allotment. The platform is pretty flexible, and they're also expanding into Ukraine at the moment, and being able to provide basically some cash assistance to displaced folks in Poland and in Ukraine. I spoke with the founder. Super interesting protocol. Super interesting, team there. Really a lot of interest and compatibility, I think, with this movement in particular, and the general, social impact direction overall. I think Marco is the founder. I think he may be able to join us maybe next week or the week after. Then also there's another partnership that I've been working on with an organization called B.World. And B.World makes software for program design and storytelling. And really why I thought this was going to be supportive of the cause is that there's some capabilities that the software has, which is around transparency, budget monitoring, and story development. So it's kind of gives you a good walkthrough on developing a and shareable story about the work that a nonprofit or impact organization is doing, as well as some really basic but important kind of module around budget management. And this I just found to be super aligned with some of the needs that I heard on some of the marketing talks about how to kind of manage this stuff. Dan Lamott, who joined today, is the founder of B.World, and I've known her probably 4 years. Really big leader in profit technology community. So I'm glad to have that support from him and that organization. We're just trying to figure out exactly how best to deploy that, for the different community-based organizations or other organizations that would be working with, and just to see how best they could use that type of support. Really adds to the capacity of a community-based organization or nonprofit to be able to have this kind of technology that gets their theories of change, their budgets organized, and their storytelling organized. That's it from me. Happy to take any questions on that, or invite Dan to answer any questions on his work.
Daniel, it's Dan. I'm here, everybody, and happy to take any questions. So just excited to be here to listen and do what we can to support the work you're up to.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you here, Dan, and figure out how we can partner and do amazing things together. So welcome. All right. Awesome updates. we should have our guest joining any second now. Saving any technical difficulties, but as of some updates until then, I'm similarly working on some projects, some partnerships with a few different organizations that I think are doing particularly good work, and have also been working with Fuego to brainstorm how we partner with organizations. And I think there are a couple paths. There's a lightweight, welcoming them into the community, path. Then there is a, Peace DAO official partnership and sponsors a particular organization. And we think this could be really interesting, where we generate some amount of peace sign NFTs and reserve it for X amount of donations to that nonprofit. And we think that is a really interesting path, where we say that the NFTs have no value. They're really just for commemorative purposes. Obviously, Peace Token does have value, and you can't give things of value in exchange for a donation to a 501c3, but the NFTs don't. And so we could sponsor a certain number of NFTs for an organization, for their donors, up to a certain amount for certain periods of time. And so those are some of the things that we're thinking about, and we'll be submitting proposals to the group in short order. Happy to answer any questions there as well.
Great, Ryan. And is part of that that community path, that kind of low resistance path, also to like, is there any thoughts around like, joint marketing, or like even just being able to add their logo to the website?
Yeah, exactly. I think both paths can have joint marketing. And as opposed to a corporation where there's like some type of partnership or advisor agreement, right? All it really takes is them giving a thumbs up that they endorse us, and us giving a thumbs up that we want to accept that and put them on their website. And so that's really it. And then once we do that, we can do, social together, which I know Felixander is working on. And we can do, hopefully, press, get engage those organizations, press teams, or even press teams that I have, get the word out there.
Nice. And is there any like due diligence that we need to keep in mind in terms of like the process that they might have for vetting us, and what any materials or information that we need to have maybe together for that, in preparation for that?
It's a good question. I think that, I think the answer is yes. It might make sense to put together a packet on what is Peace DAO, who are we, why do we exist, what's our mission, how does it work. That's actually a great idea.
I just want to jump in really quick. So hey guys, how are you? Yeah, so for the socials, actually, when Anna was speaking, there's these amazing things happening, and it goes without saying, Anna, thank you for working on this as hard as you are. It's really incredible. The question is, for socials, is that something that we could highlight? Could we put together, like you were talking about, Vlad or Alex? It would be amazing to put like a profile together and look what this person's doing, and also in conjunction with Peace DAO, or through Peace DAO funding. I don't know if that's a possibility, but that's there are actionable, amazing things that have happened already, that I believe if we highlighted and got them out there, or maybe did like a long form Medium article or something like that, would really underscore what all of this is about. I don't know if we're there yet to do it right now, which is kind of wiping out the question, but it does seem like we have some terrific things, to write about and to put on Twitter. So I'm wondering, is that the direction we want to go now, or do we want to put that on the back burner and wait a little bit, and what everybody thinks about that?
Yeah, I think my take, and obviously anyone else feel free to chime in, is strong yes. Now it's the time that we've done some of the basics really well. I think now it's time to kind of open up and create a drum beat and start doing press, start doing marketing. I feel strongly about that. I didn't think so a few weeks ago. I do think now's the time to do that. So, anytime we fund a project, I think we should post about it. To the degree, to a certain degree. I think whenever results are in, like Anna, just the results that you just shared, let's get that documented and let's get that posted. And so I think our social should just be, boom, project funded, boom, we have helped X many people, and we did X, Y, and Z, boom, new project funded, boom, here are the results. And we just develop a cadence of delivering results. And everybody in the community should amplify that through our own social accounts, and we just start spreading the word.
I think that's awesome. Anna, on your point of view, the reason that I wanted to ask you specifically is, are there kind of, security concerns about that, or perhaps people don't want, like with Alex, they might not want to be highlighted, what are we
Yeah.
taking into account there?
That is an amazing question, and we've had discussion about this. I think in few of our first town halls. Super important. We've realized that a lot of these volunteers, though they are sharing things already publicly on their platforms, and over the past weeks, they've kind of developed an understanding of what is safe or isn't safe to share. I think in terms of individual volunteers helping civilians, there shouldn't be any safety concern. And one of the things that we do from our side for our project, for example, we try to ask to only share things that are already made publicly available, to make sure that we don't pressure them into any direction, and to pressure them to share things that shouldn't be shared. But I think, especially for the 3 groups that we've supported through this partnership, all of them were extremely happy to share anything and everything we wanted. They've sent photos. Alex, once he purchases his cars, those he will share photos, and he'll share about some of his evacuation activity. I know that when people are evacuated from Mariupol, one of our concerns also to not share the photos of the faces, to make sure we respect people's privacy. But I think also one of the counter arguments for people on the ground is that they want the faces to be shared because so many relatives are looking for their relatives who are stuck in these occupied areas. So they're actively asking for pictures of faces to be shared, so then if anything, they can identify and see their family and get to support them. And so that's something that they are publicly sharing on social media. I think a good practice is obviously to ask if it would be okay for us to reshare. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Anna. That's terrific. So maybe if you don't mind, I'll reach out to you after this, and for at least Twitter stuff, or maybe with the marketing team,
Absolutely.
we'll be in contact with you.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, because we just set up our own Twitter as well, and we'll share some of the fundraisers we're highlighting. But I was wondering if you would be okay with us sharing about this partnership. So that is my first question. And my second question, I have a PR, a friend who works in PR, and she was going to help us initially, but her area is really Web3. And she's done some great work. She was the one who worked on the PR for Vitalik's Economist article, and she has a lot of contacts. And I was thinking it could be really cool to kind of write a story about partnership and share kind of the combination, about the importance of the combination of on-ground insights, supporting volunteer groups, and also Web3 and how like the blockchain and crypto fundraising can help in situations like what happened to Ukraine.
I mean, those are great questions. The first question I think is a community question of how we approach the partnership. I don't see an issue with it personally, but I'm also one of the kind of noobs here, so I'll step back from that one. And the second question, the marketing team, Obi Stacker, Maiko, Rice Cracker, we'll talk about it and see. I mean, we just had a meeting earlier about how to profile exciting stuff happening, and articles, interviews, long form, and stuff like that. So on my end, I'm totally open to both of those things. I think they're good ideas. Maybe we'll get the team together and see what they think, but I'm definitely down.
Yeah, and
Felix,
I just want to make one distinction that the stuff we're doing on the marketing guild for Movement DAO is separate from this, but we definitely are willing to support Peace DAO and wherever it wants support. And one of the things we were talking about was helping to create a newsletter and some of these other things that we want to do to help promote this as kind of Peace DAO gets its own legs.
Obi stole my thunder. I was going to say for Felix, I'm writing a summary of our activity for Peace DAO and the organizations, individuals that we've funded for this week's newsletter. I think in terms of push that out for a broader promotional piece, long form format, whether it's on one of our channels. Maybe when we have a more complete picture of the activities, but we're getting close. So I'd love for you to apply your writing skills to anything I produce this.
Yeah, thank you guys. And sorry for getting ahead of myself there. I appreciate it.
You're not ahead of yourself. It's all good. I'm glad you're thinking about that, because I think there's a lot of great stuff happening, and we want to get the word out.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you all for jumping in to do that. I'm going to be working on some kind of mainstream press as well to help get Peace DAO out there. And so if you all could prepare kind of synthesized, public ready information about what we've accomplished, I can weave that in, and I think that'd be really helpful.
That's a good charge. Thanks, Ryan. I'll work on creating something that is of that quality.
Yeah, that would be great. And so I think now's our time where we start making some really kind of smart noise, and I think that consistency of funding projects, delivering results, that's kind of the base of the fire. And then in addition, partnerships adds fuel to the fire. Key names and advisors that join the project add fuel to the fire. And other miscellaneous press that we're able to do. So I'll personally, I'm going to be spending a lot of time on the marketing and bringing in kind of really amazing people from the network into the project. So because I believe that's where I can have the biggest impact. But yeah, good stuff. All right, an update on the Congresswoman. She had something urgent come up, so she's actually not going to be able to make this town hall, but hopefully is going to be able to make one soon. So we'll hope to see her soon, and I'm also going to be making an active effort to try to get VIP, guests to come talk to us and share their insights.
Awesome. And just to close the loop on a couple of things that we talked about before, is there a proposal being produced right now for the next couple organizations to fund, or what's needed to kind of get that moving forward?
Yes, I'll work with Anna to get a second proposal. It'll be similar in the style and write-up as the first one. I think that worked fairly well. When we have those summaries complete, OB, we'd love to get your help putting together the vote.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I also wanted to clarify. I think one thing that made it challenging last time is not knowing what is the amount of funding you're planning on releasing. So that would just be something that would help us better target like what initiatives we add to the list, how many like initiatives we look for. So if you could like give us an approximate number, that would be very helpful.
Did we verbally earmark like another 15 last time? Does that sound like, or are we trying to do less than that this time?
It was not official, but I agree it would be good to start with a budget for this next round.
Should we have maybe someone put together a proposal for like the budgeting part of this?
I had a question on that. I agree that would be wise, especially if we're looking at partnerships and other activities. The Ryan King, what you're doing on some of the marketing efforts, and I know there's some other fundraising efforts in sort of the background, it sounds like. I'm excited about that. So I think high level strategically too, a budget just for Peace DAO in general would be good in terms of how we look at immediate relief and response through these activities that we're standing up in the short term versus partnerships and other activities where we potentially would see more funding coming into the DAO. I can take a draft. I can take a swag at a draft on what that would look like, just pure percentage wise, and put it out there for people to respond to. Just as I think it's always good to put a stick in the sand and get people's reactions. Sometimes it's way off, but at least it's something to go off of.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. I think, I think we can play to win a little bit in terms of get the money out that we have quickly and assume more donations will come in, because we do have funds from the event and more that I'm personally going to put in, and people in my network that I know are going to come in. So, my only comment is I think, one, the people on the ground need the funds as quickly as possible. And so I'm in favor of deploying a good amount of what we have quickly and also taking responsibility for bringing in more donors.
Yeah, I think the time to donation here is not only from an impact perspective, but from a value perspective to us, because that leads to faster testimonials or faster proof points and faster ability to get more funding, get partnerships, etc.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I would, in order to give Anna some guidance, I would say we want every week to be an increased amount that we put to work, right? We want to go in the direction of more impact versus less. So if last week we did 15, how about we do 20 this week? Just as a rough proposal.
Yep, that sounds good.
Any objections to that?
For guidance for the grantees, would you want to leave it completely open to say, between X number and the limit for that week, or would you say like maybe increments of 5,000 or something like that to kind of give them a sense of how they could be budgeting or making the ask to kind of give the grantees guidance?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want to tell the grantees our total budget. We would ask them what amount do they need, and should probably be open to grants anywhere between 500 and 5,000, and maybe some rare exceptions we can go above that if we feel like it's a really merited cause.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Great. Does that sound good, Anna?
Yep. Thank you.
All right, let's get to work. Any other questions, logistics before we wrap up?
I think that the next biggest thing is just getting those proof points, which Ricecracker that he would take on. So thank you for that. And then from there, I mean, I think that opens up the doors for Anna and Ryan and others who have those potential PR opportunities um, to start talking about those and bring those in as well as other channels like social media. So I think that's the next biggest rock to lift.
Yeah, great. I totally agree. As far as our focus, we get more projects funded, but most importantly, let's make some noise about what we've just accomplished in order to spread the word, get more attention, get more funding and people on here. So Ricecracker, Felix Sander, if you could work on that content, get some social out, and give me some fodder to leverage my PR team, that'd be great.
Percent will do.
Great.
Awesome. Let's go, team.
Go team.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you.